So, Devin, obviously the Hall of Fame. I know you wanted to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and you did not get there. You were in the final 15, but you weren't selected. We believe that'll happen next year. Does it? You look at your career. They literally changed rules because of how successful you were with. Was it 5 touchdowns returned in your first year, and then you came back as a sophomore, second-year player with 6? I mean, it's incredible what you did in your career, and they really had to change kickoffs as a result. Were you surprised that you didn't make it first time, and how excited are you about getting there eventually?
I was very surprised, to be honest with you. I from everything leading up to the Hall of Fame, I got an opportunity to talk to the president, and we had a conversation after I didn't get voted, and my answer was, what was the reason why? And he said, out of every guy that got cut off the list, you was the hardest one. And I was like, could you be more specific? And he was like, well, to be honest, you was the last one to get cut.
Yeah.
So if it was a cutoff at 5 players, you was the 6th guy. And it was just like you came in with a uncomfortable position where we didn't know what to do.
Right. And
it was more so, we know you're gonna get in. And he was like, we know that's not a question. We know you're gonna get in. There's some guys out there that been waiting a while, so we're gonna go ahead and let those guys get in, and because we know you're gonna get in all the way. So that was really the answer. But I was more upset because as being a Hall of Fame is great, but it's being the first ballot. It's like being in the first round of the draft pick. If you don't make the first round as a player, you're like, I don't care what round I go, second, third, it don't matter now.
Right.
But being the first round draft pick is the big name. So for me, going in and having the opportunity to be able to make the Hall of Fame and to be able to be a first ballot was a big thing for me. And when you look at the Hall of Fame, you look at the best at the position. And it's so frustrating because now I'm in a situation where I'm in a list of guys that's ranked 30th in running back, 29th best quarterback. You know what I mean? You have to, and when it comes to Hall of Fame, you have to pick the best at that position. And if you have a guy that's on the list right now, that's everybody's looking at as the greatest of all time,
right?
Why not put him in there?
Well, we can make the argument about how you changed the game. As Mully pointed out, we both remember you coming into the league and nobody really expected you to have the kind of impact that you did. How would you describe the way, when you look back and reflect on your career, how you changed the game and what makes you worthy of being that Hall of Fame candidate that you are right now?
Because in reality, I'm the first to ever do it. I'm the change the game.
Yep.
The way I did. The first one to do it. And the way it's looking now, I maybe be the last.
Yeah.
You're going to have some guys that may, take 1 or 2 back in the season, but you never seen this before. You know what I mean? You seen a running back rush for 2,000 yards a couple times. Have you ever seen a returner that do what I did and change the game? And not only change the game, but change the rule of football. Like, you never seen no running back change the rule of football. But I changed the game in return.
Cordell Patterson thinks that he could change the game. You saw that. You went back to him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Cordell Patterson is a great athlete. Don't get me wrong. He's doing a lot. But I hate to say it, but is it really a comparison? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's so many guys that's ahead of him. You know what I mean? So I don't like to sit here. I never was a guy to sit here and toot my horn, but after sitting back after 5-6 years of just being retired and watching football and just looking at everything I have done, and then looking in my circle of the guys that done it, you know what I mean? You look at, it's so crazy because in reality, just think his teams really, really kicked the ball to me my first 2 years, my whole 11 years. Like Brian Mitchell got the ball kicked to him his whole entire year right down the middle field.
Right.
Like, that's like a baseball player, right? You pitching him like a home run hitter. You pitching him fastball 3 out of 4 times, he gonna hit a home run, right? That was the odds I was going against my first 2 years when team was kicking me. Just imagine if I got all those kicks for 11 years straight. You know what I mean? So the guys that like the Brian Mitchells and those guys, I salute my hat off to those guys. They had a ton of yards. But at the end of the day, how many balls were kicked in Michigan Lake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Devin. I think that the reason the Hall of Fame struggled with it is because you defied position. You were so good as a returner that they had to move you to the offensive side of the football. You came in as a defensive player, obviously. You came in as a returner, as a special player. And then in order to pay you, that's what they always told us anyway in the media, in order to pay you, they had to have you at the receiver position. And then, you were fine doing that, but you're obviously special teams, and they struggle with that in the Hall of Fame. So I wouldn't take it as a personal, but I do think it's just that you defied position.
Right. I don't see they look at that. I think that the biggest thing is the special team is the key word to why I didn't make the Hall of Fame. Yeah. But it's a position.
Yep.
It's a position. It's a position in football. Yeah. Do special team win games? Yes. We had a football game this past week down in Fort Lauderdale. Special teams won it. We had a kickoff and 2 onside kicks. We went in double overtime. So imagine if you take them kickoff returns and them 2 calls fumbles in the kickoff, we would have won that game.
So you asked us before you got on what we expect from this Bears season. Well, it doesn't matter. What do you expect from this Bears season?
It's once again, it's a new future star on the roster that the fans are open to see what they expect to see. And Fields, if you watched the game last night with Allen, he did it with his legs and his arm. So it's hard to go in and game plan a quarterback that can run. If it's a broken down play and it's 3rd and 4, and he can potentially go run and get those 4 yards. And that's what he showed yesterday against a Super Bowl team.
Right.
And by 3rd quarter, we was ready to turn the game off because the way he took over the game with his legs, and he was able to make the throws when they were there.